was growing up, I loved to watch nature shows on television. You see, I was really, really into animals, especially wild animals. I loved learning all I could about them. And many of these shows depicted some pretty serious stuff. After all, nature can be quite unforgiving at times. And for a young person, the tragic consequences that befell many of these wild animals were difficult to watch. For me, nothing got my attention more than when baby animals were abandoned. That is very tough to watch. The reasons young animals sometimes wind up having to fend for themselves are rather obvious. The death of one or both parents, a juvenile getting lost or accidentally separated from its parents, or even adults sometimes having to leave their young behind if they no longer are able to care for them. It's easy to understand why these scenarios gripped me as a young child. It was because I could not even begin to imagine what it would be like to be on my own, providing for myself, responsible for my own well-being and safety. As a young person, nothing would have filled me with more fear than that. The last thing I would have wanted was to be all alone in this world without anyone to rely on. Of course, many people feel precisely this way, alone and on their own, in a world that can pose some very difficult challenges. And I don't simply mean that some people have to provide for their own material needs. No, I'm talking primarily about the emotional, personal, and spiritual dimensions of life. Those things that give people meaning and hope, and a sense of being loved, and the feeling that they can count on others to be there for them. And in that sense, many find themselves in that sort of situation. Some children have few friends, finding it difficult to connect with their peers. Many spouses feel lonely in their marriages, even though their day-to-day lives are packed with so many things. The elderly often feel particularly alone, especially if their spouse has died and their children don't seem to call as often as they would like. No one likes to feel as if no one cares, or no one is paying attention, or no one is in your corner. And especially that feeling can come about now in these days during the pandemic that we are in. My friends, today we hear Jesus promising his disciples that he will not abandon them, but to send an advocate, the Spirit of truth, to be with them always. And the amazing thing is that he promises the same to each of us, to you and to me. God will never leave us to fend for ourselves. Even when we feel alone, God is with us, sustaining us and loving us and comforting us and holding us in his tender embrace. Knowing that and believing that makes all the difference. The language that Jesus uses to get his point across is very revealing. He says, "On that day, you will realize that I am in my Father, and you are in me, and I in you." This clearly is not any ordinary relationship. The language Jesus uses is that language of mutual indwelling, a communion, if you will, of God and his creatures. Creatures he is deeply in love with. God doesn't simply stand nearby us or alongside us. God lives within us. And he seems to want nothing more than for us to do the same, to live within Him in a loving relationship with the Father, Son, and Spirit. I sometimes am reminded of this profound idea when I'm praying with my hands folded and my fingers are interlocked with one another. Our loving God longs for us desperately so that we can be close to Him, interwoven in a strong, loving, intimate connection. He sincerely wants our very being to be intertwined with Him so that He is in us, and just as importantly, so that we are in Him. And when we are in that sort of intimate relationship with Him, we will know with confidence that we are truly never alone, no matter what life may throw our way. And so, if you find yourself feeling that you are all alone in this world, if you wonder if anyone really cares, striving to believe deep in your heart in the profound love that God has for each of you, a love that far surpasses any other love that we could ever experience. And may each of us trust that in the kingdom there are no orphans. All are precious. All are comforted. All are in the safety of God's embrace. All are sustained and enlivened and guided through the Spirit of God, who provides us with everything that we need. By myself, I am at the mercy of my circumstances. With God alive within me, and I in Him, I can survive and thrive no matter what comes my way.